This is TWiT.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. IT Pro from ACI Learning offers binge-worthy cybersecurity and IT training in everything your team needs to advance your IT learning. Use code TWIT30 at checkout for 30% off a standard or premium IT Pro membership. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit to learn more.
All right. Well, my story of the week is about a little app called Bluesky. So Jack Dorsey long ago, while still, doing the Twitter thing, mentioned a future that he saw where there was a social media that was not connected to a centralized unit, basically a decentralized social media service. And he felt like it would need to be built on a protocol and that it would, need to exist as sort of independent states. And then everybody kind of said, well, there is something like that. It's Mastodon, along with other social media services that are built on I'm trying to remember the name of it now, the Activity Pub standard.
There you go. Yeah.
And so the whole idea is you've got this Fediverse of interconnected servers that can all communicate with one another, and Mastodon took off. But even though that was happening, Bluesky was still sort of being worked on internally while it says while Twitter was still kind of footing the bill for Bluesky until the Musk acquisition, in which case that changed. So lo and behold, a couple of days ago, TechCrunch posted a story about Bluesky actually hitting the App Store, and it's currently invite only. And so people will occasionally get invites and get to join the app to see what it's about. But what's fascinating to me, I think, about this is that it is not using ActivityPub, which is at this point as the TechCrunch article points out, a W3C standard. So the Fediverse has existed for some time. It has that protocol has been there for some time, and it's kind of a blessed protocol at this point that a lot of people are using. But Bluesky exists on a protocol called AT that was originally called ADX and stands for Authenticated Transfer Protocol. And with the Authenticated Transfer Protocol, it works kind of in a very similar way. You're not tied down to a specific you're not tied down to a specific account or anything like that. You can at any time switch to a different server or domain, I think is what they're calling it. They're calling it a network rather. So you can switch from network to network and get to bring along your followers and all that kind of thing. But it feels a lot like what Mastodon is doing. So it's been really interesting, I think, to see what is going to make it potentially something that people will use if we've already got this system that's out there, or if one or the other will cave. If, instead of using ActivityPub, people start switching to AT rather, they're just calling it AT now, or vice versa, that Bluesky will eventually not do the authenticated transfer protocol and will just be kind of part of the system. So I did end up getting get access to the app, and I wanted to show what it's like here. So if you've ever used Twitter, it's going to look pretty familiar to you, although it is quite simplified. There aren't any hashtags on the platform. And in fact, I asked right now, because there are so few people on there, I can actually talk to people who are on the team building this right now. Which reminds me,
Mikah.
I need to send a message to Jack so I can finally get a reply from Jack while there still aren't so many people. But with this, it's been kind of cool, seeing them respond almost in real time about how everything is working, what it's doing. And I had posted a hashtag with my first post, and let me go to my profile here. And I did a Regina Spektor quote because, lyric, I guess, technically, because it had reference to blue. And then I said, wait, no hashtags? And one of the developers was like, hey, we're thinking about it. We're not sold yet. And then one of the people that's at the forefront, I can't find Jay now, but Jay was here somewhere. And Jay was saying that they were thinking about not doing hashtags because the search on its own can do that. And that's kind of what hashtags were for in the beginning, was just to help you find search terms. And I had this moment where I was like, you know what? I'm glad there are no hashtags, because frankly, I've only ever used, well, I shouldn't say that, because for, I would say 97.832% of the time, I only use hashtags sarcastically, not as if I'm actually trying to. And I think hashtags are goofy and sort of dated. And so I immediately, or
kind
a
of
little
ugly.
bit later, I was like, you know
I've always thought they were ugly. Like they might be useful, but sometimes it makes it really hard to see what you want to see.
What you want,
to
exactly.
see the thing.
So at the end, I'm like, you know what? It's fine that there are no hashtags. But anyway, scrolling through, this is not algorithmically generated. This is just reverse chronological order. The replies are all here. There's threading right now. And as I mentioned, they're adding stuff all the time. But I'm going to hit the little plus button and show you there aren't polls. There aren't, I don't know, anything else that's there. You can add photos and add a photo to what you're doing. You can type what you want. It's 256 characters right now. They're considering making it a little bit bigger, but not much bigger. And down at the bottom, exactly, I've got the home page. I've got search, and search does have some like, hey, these are some popular posts or some recent posts that have taken place for people who you're not following. And then I've got notifications, and that's pretty much it. Even in the settings, it's not very involved. You can, do just a couple of things here. You may be wondering why my username on this app, Bluesky, is Crispy, KRSPYY. And that is because, so let me be honest here. There was a great piece about Bluesky over on TechCrunch. And in one of the TechCrunch screenshots, the journalist had not blocked out the invite code that they used. And so what I wanted to do was hop into the app and just see what it looked like, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to hop in here. I'm going to see if that code works. And then I'm going to get in. I'm going to see what it looks like. I'll be able to talk about it on Tech News Weekly. So I used the code that was available. I got in, but I didn't want to make my account, because if I was going to be on there, later on, I didn't want it to get deleted whenever they figured out that I was imposting, I guess. And so I'm using it and going on and whatever. And then I saw someone on there respond to the TechCrunch author and said, hey, I ended up joining because of the code that was in there. And the developers and the gal that leads the team were all like, oh, that was so clever. We were wondering if anyone was going to end up doing that. And so I responded to them and I was like, I have to be honest with you, that's how I did it. And I just have not even set up my profile yet, because I thought that you were going to end up kicking me off of here. And they were like, it's honestly no problem at all, as long as you're nice. That's all we care about. That's why we're not bringing a bunch of people in. So I am in, and it was not a horrible thing to do. Again, I just wanted to go in and look at it so I could, talk about it today, not end up making an account. But they were cool with that, and so it ended up being fine. But so I'm not super special or anything like that. I didn't get an email saying, hey, join the club. But that is how it works right now. Unfortunately, it is not yet to the stage where you can like join and wait till the 6,000 people in front of you are able to get in. It's still very much invite only. But anyway, it's been fun kind of playing around with it. And what's been interesting for me is I've been checking it regularly. And I have to be honest, I have not really been doing that with Twitter at all. I've not been doing that with Mastodon at all. So there's something about this in particular that has been sticking with me. And I think one of the things is it doesn't feel so big. And so I'm regularly seeing things that are from people who I just saw earlier in the day, if that makes sense. When I checked earlier in the day, it's like, oh, I remember them from earlier in the day. Now they're talking about this. So it feels very recent and new and fun. And with Mastodon, I think because I quickly kind of just shifted what I had on Twitter over into Mastodon, then there was no kind of reset refresh involved there. And that made it not as, it's just like, oh, it's a return to the same thing. And if I'm not using Twitter as much, then I'm also not using Mastodon as much. So that's been fascinating. I'm more, I'm not saying that's going to be everybody's experience, but I just wanted to share sort of that mental space that I'm sort of trying to come to terms with and figure out in general as I've been using the app. But it's still very, buggy. There's a lot of stuff there that they're still working on. So I think it'll be a little while before it's fully baked and fully cooked. And I do find it interesting as far as the fight among the protocols goes. I'm curious to see how that's all going to play out. Yeah, that's kind of a big thing. So anyway, that is Bluesky. And if you do go to blueskyweb.xyz, they have a blog, and in the blog there is an option to join a wait list. It's not this, like, they haven't moved along to the wait list yet. They're still in invite only stage, and then they're going to move on to the wait list where they start bringing people in. They want to get the two things in place, it seems, before they start rolling people in, which is getting, why can't I think of the term now? Whenever you can go in and say, I don't want to see this person's stuff, or you say, block this person.
Block, unfollow? Or?
Moderation. That's
moderation.
The term.
Okay. The blanket term.
Yeah. So moderation isn't in there yet. And so that's next before they really start to roll it out, as well as.
That's why they wanted to be sure that you were a nice person.
Exactly. Yes. If I had started to say some crummy things, they would have gotten me out of there, I'm sure, which I respect and appreciate. But the other thing is that they are working on, and now I've completely forgotten the other one. It's moderation. Oh, and it's they do want to give people the ability to do an algorithmic thing if they want to. So you can, turn it on and off as you so choose. But they are working on that as well.
Interesting. Yeah. And I think it is going to be interesting to see if there is ever a conversation or a movement with Bluesky towards kind of some sort of unification or compatibility of some sort with the greater Fediverse, right? Like, it still kind of seems like it's over on an island on its own, still kind of achieving the same thing, but not communicating with all of these other things that belong in the greater Fediverse, things like Mastodon or whatever. So I wonder if they'll ever be able to communicate between them. But the app itself, I was not expecting you to show off the app. I was really curious to know kind of how that looks and everything, and it really has a lot of similarity to like
has a lot of Twitter app.
Yeah, has a lot of Twitter in it. Yeah, look at that. I mean, it really is. So yeah, I love that it exists, though. I love that, like, this is where we're at right now. That, like, this energy. There's
an abundance of options, right? You've got so many choices, and it's starting to feel like no one social media app has its clutches, and I think that is good and that is powerful, because it shifts the power dynamic. I remember going from a time where you didn't see any mention of Twitter on social media, on television. And then you started hearing mention of social media on television, like, oh yeah, this person's on Twitter, to a place where all you had to do was put the @ in the person's name, and you knew that meant that was their Twitter handle, and you would go to Twitter to find them there. And I am curious how that's going to look going forward, because the rest of it's not as simple as that. I don't go to @Mikah Sargent and just type that into Mastodon, because it doesn't exist in one place. It has to be with your, special or your specific server afterwards. So there's still a lot. I want, almost for, like, individually, we have the ability to say, this is, and that's what I try to do anyway, is I try to be @Mikah Sargent everywhere except on Bluesky, because I was sneaking in. But that's so I can just say that one thing, and then people can go to any service, and that's what I am there. But it would be nice if there was a way to make that happen in a way that made sense. I guess that's what personal websites are for, because you've got links to all those spots.
I remember about.me. That's how I.
Oh,
that's
yes,
how I had all that
About.me.
stuff. I don't even know if that's still around.
man.
Is that still around? About.me.
It
Does
seems to
exist?
be.
Yeah. Ooh. Freelancers, okay, maybe, but yeah, it's evolved.
It
I
looks
think it's
different.
changed.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an about. This is so random, but I don't think there's an about.me/Jason Howell anymore, is there? Oh yeah, there is. Wow, that is an old page.
About.me /
Anyways,
Sargent.
it's not like I've updated this anytime recently, but yeah.
Oh wow. I have one too, and it's wow. I have not touched that.
Good, good to know that exists. So maybe it could be manicured.
One of the hundreds of plates. Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this is when I was technical director, like TD at Petaluma. I mean, I was also hosting, but I was also doing a lot of TD stuff at the time. So there you go. That explains that strange look on my face at the TD desk, the Brick House Studios. There you go. Look into my eyes. Apparently, you'll find a lot of funny photos of me on the internet. There you go.